It's the day after Nebraska's dominant shutout victory versus the Akron Zip 68-0. And man, oh man, over these past couple hours, I've rewatched the game, looked over the stats, and I've come up with 5 massive nuggets that we learned in yesterday's performance and where the Huskers go from here. So really quick, if you're excited about Nebraska starting off their season undefeated 2-0, I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for this season? This is the only place on Husker YouTube where you get daily content talking Nebraska. It is a no-brainer. It takes you seconds. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But on that note, let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yesterday's performance was much needed by the Huskers, not only because of the score, not only because of the result, but because of the small, minute details that are going to build up as the year progresses and are going to make this team worthy of potentially becoming special, potentially knocking off Michigan, potentially knocking off Penn State. We'll get to that as the video progresses. But at the same time, there's a bunch of things we still need to clean up that didn't play up to snuff yesterday. We will talk about that too. So let's start things off with the first biggest nugget that we learned in yesterday's game. I'm not sure what unit was the most dominant, because it was lights out. Let's start off with the offense. Let's have a conversation about Dylan Raiola, the offensive line, the wide receivers. Let's go to Dylan first, because I told you guys he was going to break records, and that's exactly what he did. He set a couple career highs, 350 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Both are the most in his career in one single game. He set a school record of 20 consecutive completions in 2 ball games. He had 0 turnovers. Again, he was phenomenal. Had a couple big-time touchdowns where he found Dane, Jacory, Barney. There was one play in particular where he was rolling out to his right, found Dane in the back of the end zone. That was probably the best pass of his entire career. He was perfect inside the pocket. He scrambled out when needed, when the pocket broke down. Great vision. The IQ's all there. So Dylan Raiola, he earned a grade of an A+. Okay, it was the it game for him. It was that statement breakout game. Obviously, we're hoping that he can do that once again versus Michigan. But when you're playing inferior opponents like Akron, you need to take advantage, and that's exactly what he did. Now, the only thing I'll say around Dylan, sometimes his accuracy falters a little bit with the back shoulder fade ball. You saw that again yesterday. Like, he overthrew Dane on a back shoulder ball. He underthrew Jacory Barney. So again, that's a hard throw. It's one of the hardest throws in football, but Dylan's kind of struggled with that throughout his career. It showed up again yesterday, but I'm just nitpicking. I told you guys I'm holding Dylan to a little bit of a higher standard because I believe he can be a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the game. But again, other than that, he was absolutely perfect. And then you go to the rest of our offense. Emmett Johnson was phenomenal, as you'd expect. He averaged 10 yards per carry, which is, just unbelievable. But he had a couple breakthrough runs with his speed, with his explosiveness, great vision. All the receivers shined, all of them ate. Whether it was, again, Dane, Nyziah Hunter, once again, shows why he was one of the best transfers that we got last year. Jacory Barney had 130 yards through the air, was also great on special teams. So the receivers look good. And then really, nobody's talking about the offensive line, but the offensive line dictated and dominated the entire game. They didn't give up a single sack, which is awesome, but they were awesome in the running game as well. They probably created some of the biggest holes I've ever seen. So it didn't matter who that running back was back there, whether it was EJ, Mekhi Nelson, Quinn, Ives, Isaiah Mozee, all of them had big breakthrough runs because the holes were so big through the A gap, through the B gap. The offensive line, I've never seen anything like it. I haven't seen Nebraska's offensive line perform like that in literally a decade. So kudos to the offensive line. They were great, and there's a reason why I put up 68 points on the day. So the offense was great, but the defense might have been better. Okay, you go to the secondary. This secondary is playing to levels we haven't seen in a very long time. They only gave up 62 passing yards. Right now, they are number 1 in the country, the least passing yards given up per game. Astronomical numbers. Again, that starts with guys like Sear Wright. Malcolm Hartzog had a great day yesterday. Andrew Marshall's been lights out as well. Deshaun Singleton was flying to the football. Every single player in the secondary, they're all playing well. So again, I told you guys all offseason, buy the secondary stock. That's exactly what's happening right now. They're not only one of the best in the Big Ten, they're one of the best in America, and it isn't close. The defensive line, they improved. Again, there are some issues with the D-line. We'll get back to that as the video progresses, trust me, but the defensive line, they played well. A lot of the depth pieces played well. And even the linebackers, I thought were awesome. Like Deshaun McCullough had a couple pressures in there, didn't get a sack. He did have one, but it was taken away due to a penalty. But Marquez Watson bounced back. Buda Wright had some good snaps. Finn Shavers played well. So everybody on this defensive line, linebacker core, secondary, everybody played well on the defense, and there's a reason why there was a shutout. Let's get to the studs and the duds. Who played well, who didn't? Spoiler alert, there were a lot of studs. There was only 1 or 2 duds, and we'll talk about them. But, I mean, the big breakout players, that's what I'm focusing on. The guys who really came out of nowhere, had a really good game. I want to start off with the man of the hour, Cade Petschok. Unbelievable performance from the true freshman on the defensive line. And I told you guys 2 days ago, watch out for Cade in this ball game. There was a lot of smoke around him in practice this week. There was a lot of smoke around him in fall ball. Again, he's a different animal. He was a 4-star coming out of North Dakota. He's somebody, the coaching staff, they compare to like a crossbreed of Nash and Ty Robinson. And you saw that yesterday. He had a couple pressures here and there. He had a big stop on 4th down. He had a safety as well. So Cade Petschok is one of those guys where every time he's on the field, he makes plays. He's productive. And I could very well see, we get to the back half of this year, he's in competition to start. Okay. And he's absolutely going to start next year. So Cade Petschok, really, really good development there. Just because this defensive line, we need as much help as we can get, right? Because the starters aren't phenomenal on the D-line. We'll talk about that later. So you need some of these depth pieces to show up, these true freshmen to show up, the second-year players to show up, and Cade Petschok absolutely did that. I was actually really impressed with the running back depth. I thought Quinn Ives, and I've been hard on Quinn Ives, because, Quinn Ives, everybody would hype him up in spring ball, that he was running back too, that he was this great bruising running back. And I told you guys, I don't necessarily buy all that. He's had a lot of injury problems, and that happened. But Quinn Ives, he got his first real opportunity yesterday, and he played well. Had that big breakout run that was 30 yards. He averaged 10 yards a carry. So I was impressed with Ives, Isaiah Mozee. Again, the thing about Isaiah is he's still transitioning to running back, so you don't know about him running through the tackles, but when he catches a pass, he's so dynamic. He had that one pass that was in the flat where he took it for about 50 yards right along the sideline. Again, he's so dynamic. He breaks tackles. He won't go down. So I thought the running back depth, they played very well, but at the same time, that's partly credit to the offensive line creating all these holes for him, right? We'll see it, against maybe a better defensive line. Maybe it gets a Michigan State, and we'll see if the running backs do the exact same thing. So I thought the running back core played good. Again, all the wide receivers played well, but you go to the depth pieces, I thought Cortez Mills had a good day. There were multiple times where, he was actually open and the quarterbacks didn't see him, whether it was Dylan, whether it was TJ. Like Cortez could have had a couple big plays if the quarterback saw him. So I thought Cortez played well. Quinn Clark had that big touchdown, broke the tackle. That was awesome to see. And you go to the defense, right? Riley Van Poppel had a good day, blocked that kick, which was a game changer. He preserved the shutout. Jeremiah Charles did a really good job. That was somebody I was intrigued to watch. He's corner 3 on this team, but again, he shut things down along with pretty much everybody in the secondary. Rex Guthrie played well. And then again, the guy who really shined, who really impressed everybody, this shouldn't be a shocker if you watch the channel, it was TJ Lateef. And I told you guys all summer long, all fall long, the second TJ Lateef gets in the ball game, the Nebraska fan base, they are going to fall in love with him. Not only because he's a winner, okay, he's somebody who knows how to make plays at the highest level, whether it's through his arm, whether it's through his legs. He'll do anything to win, but because he's a dual threat quarterback. And Nebraska fans, we have an infatuation with guys who can run, who have speed. And you saw it on that play that should have been a touchdown where he juked out literally 3 Akron defenders. He did a little step back, like Jordan step back. He did 1 step back, 2 step back, then he did a juke move, and it got right there at the 1-yard line. Should have been a touchdown. They initially called it a TD, but again, TJ Lateef, he's a gamer, man. And I have a bad feeling necessarily that Nebraska fans might be calling for him as the year progresses. Maybe Dylan has a bad game. It's going to happen, right? Dylan's not going to be perfect. Maybe Dylan has a tough game. I have a bad feeling that people are going to start calling for TJ because everybody knows that the favorite player on the team is the backup quarterback. That's just kind of how it goes. But TJ Lateef, really, really good performance. And then again, I want to give some love to some of the starters, the guys who didn't really break out but had a really good day. Teddy Prohaska had a good day. You're not going to really hear about that, but Teddy was lights out. Again, he was phenomenal. When it comes to the pass pro specifically, he just kept the pocket clean all day. Again, Sear Wright, I don't believe he was targeted the single day either. That's the second game in a row. So Sear Wright literally hasn't been targeted in 2 ball games, which shows you that he's locked down. Deshaun Singleton was all over the football. Vince Shavers played well, and Isaiah Hunter, of course, we talked about him. And then Kyle Kinnan made his 1 kick attempt, which was good to see. The only dud that I'll say from yesterday, and it's not necessarily because he played bad, but it's because he didn't really play at all, was Carter Nelson. We need to have a conversation around Carter Nelson. The coaching staff, for whatever reason, they do not like playing him. Okay. And I'll make it very clear. I heard all fall ball that he did not have a great fall practice. He of course didn't play in spring ball because he was banged up. He won the fall ball and he wasn't playing well. And the coaching staff, they've been worried that he might re-injure his same hip. So they're being very protective around him, but he's not playing well either way. And he wasn't really great when he got on the field yesterday. So I don't get it with Carter, especially when the coaching staff hyped him up this week and said that he's going to replace Janiran Bonner. Well, you got to give him a chance to do that. And he didn't really give him one. So Carter Nelson, he's not getting an opportunity, but when he does get a chance, he's not playing well either. So I don't really get around Carter. It's kind of now or never for him, right? It really is. You got to prove yourself because you're a big-time recruit. At some point, either you got it or you don't got it. And right now, it looks like he doesn't got it. Like, if you can't really play at a high level versus Akron, I don't know if you're going to play at a high level at all this season, really. And again, I don't want to overreact. It's only game 2, but Carter Nelson, it worries me more that he's not playing. The coaching staff doesn't want to play him. So that's a story for another day. Talking about the third biggest nugget that I thought was incredibly impressive, Nebraska's efficiency, right? It's not necessarily all the flashy plays, all the talent. We were incredibly efficient, and that's really what sets you apart from these other teams. Okay, I'll give you some stats. I want you to take these and jot them down, keep them in your back pocket. On offense, Nebraska went 8 for 10 on third down, which is great. But when they were on defense, when Akron was on offense trying to convert third downs, Akron only went 1 for 14. Unbelievable. And that's a great job by not only this defensive talent, these players, but John Butler coaching them up, dialing up the blitz, getting big stops. So again, very efficient on third downs, both on offense and defense. We had 8 consecutive touchdown drives, not 8 consecutive scoring drives, 8 consecutive touchdown drives. Okay. And we didn't punt the ball a single time. We only had 1 turnover the entire day, which was Emmett Johnson, which really wasn't his fault, right? I mean, that was a great play by the Akron defender, got the helmet right there when the football and popped it out. But only 1 turnover, and we had 730 yards on offense, which is the most we've had in literally this century. We had 7.2 yards a carry, and the most important thing, in my opinion, of yesterday's game, we were healthy. We didn't have a single injury. Okay, we know that, you can't afford to have anybody go down at any point in the year, but most importantly, you can never have anybody go down in these stupid, meaningless games, I should say, right? The games that you're going to win anyways, right? If somebody's going to go down, it might as well be against a Big Ten opponent. But if somebody's getting injured against Akron, against Houston Christian, against UTEP, doesn't mean good things for your team going forward. So we stayed healthy. Nobody got injured. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And we know that in order to be competitive in this conference, you got to be the more healthy team. And that's exactly what we're doing. All right, let's have a conversation. We played well. We put up 68 points. We had a shutout, but we weren't perfect. Let's talk about the things we need to improve, not only going into next week, but going into Michigan, going into the rest of the year. The number one thing, and I'll continue to harp on this, the pass rush needs to improve. We only had 2 sacks yesterday. That's unacceptable. Okay, it's unacceptable. We had 0 sacks against Cincinnati and 2 sacks yesterday versus Akron, one of the worst teams at FBS. Okay, if you can only get 2 sacks against Akron, I don't want to know what you're going to do versus Michigan. Probably not much. Probably not much versus Michigan State. Probably not much. You go down the list, right? It's not good enough. This defensive line is not good enough in the pass rush department. It's decent in the run stopping game. Like, they did a good job yesterday, but they just can't get to the quarterback, right? Again, Deshaun McCullough, I think, needs to be better. Cameron Lenhart, what is Cameron Lenhart doing? He's on like a milk carton half the time. Okay, the coaching staff loves tying him up, and I like me some Cam Lenhart in the run stopping department, but again, he can't get to the quarterback. Keelan Davis needs to be better, and overall, again, the interior. Like, we're talking guys like Elijah Judy, Van Poppel. Those guys just get no push. They have no moves to get to quarterback. We cannot get the quarterback down, and that is a huge issue, and it's going to do this defense a huge disservice as the year progresses. It's much better to have a good defensive line and a good secondary, because it doesn't matter how bad your secondary is. If you can get to the quarterback in a split second, it's going to be an incompletion every single day of the week. However, if you have a good secondary and a bad defensive line, it doesn't matter how good your secondary is. Somebody's going to get open eventually if the quarterback has all day in the pocket, okay? Unfortunately, Nebraska, we have a bad defensive line, good secondary, which isn't necessarily the best for our defense. So we need to figure that out. Point blank. Very simple. Also, we need to improve our red zone play calling on offense. There was one point in the ball game where we were 1 for 4 inside the red zone, scoring touchdowns. And that was to begin the ball game. Of course, we had that Emmett Johnson fumble. Then we had 4 plays inside the 10-yard line where we did not score. It was 4th down and 1, and we got stuffed. So listen, we figured it out after that, but those type of issues can't persist. We just have no identity inside the red zone. It kind of feels like we have no idea what we're doing, and that's kind of holding over from last year. Special teams is pretty much perfect. I can't complain. The only thing, there's always one thing. There's always one thing we didn't do very well. In this case, 2 things. We didn't block very well on punt returns for Jacory. Jacory had multiple opportunities to bust one, deep, and our gunners weren't doing a good job blocking, and for that reason, Jacory got blown up or didn't get as big of a hole as maybe he should have. And at the same time, we kicked a ball out of bounds on a kickoff. Tristan Alvano, We've already talked about Tristan Vaughn. I don't know why they're putting him out there anymore. I don't even know why he's still on the team. I don't know, because every time he goes out there, he makes a mistake, but he had one opportunity to have a kickoff, and he kicked it straight out of bounds, and he wasn't seen again. So, again, it's the small things. We're not perfect on special teams just yet, but it was very much improved. And then last but not least, it's the penalties, okay? We had 6 penalties for 41 yards. I challenged Nebraska going into this game, find a way to have 0 penalties. I'll take 1, I'll take 2, but no more than that. And they had 6. Okay, you can't do that versus Akron. And I understand the refs were not great yesterday, but here's a news flash for you. The refs are never going to be great. They're honestly only going to get worse. We know how it is in this conference, in the Big Ten. The refs are always bad. The refs are always going to try to cheat us. So you got to be as penalty-free as possible. You got to be as disciplined as possible. So my challenge, once again for Nebraska, going into next week, have as little penalties as possible, at the very most 2 or 3. Very most, but you can't have 6. Because if you do that versus Akron, I don't want to see what it is versus Michigan. All right, 5th and final nugget. Where do we go from here? Because there's a lot of mixed responses after yesterday. A lot of people are optimistic, including myself. It was a big win. We should treat it like a big win. It was 68-0, but there's a minority part of the fan base that are saying, oh, it was only Akron. Akron's terrible. We shouldn't treat this victory very seriously. And they're partially right. Let's be very honest. We don't have to sugarcoat this at all. Akron is a bad football team. They are one of the worst FBS teams in America. They will probably only win 2 games this year. Maybe 3 if they're lucky. They are bad. Okay. They are horrific. We got probably the easiest group of 5 game as it gets, right? But I will tell you this at the exact same time, that doesn't downplay our victory. Because when you play bad teams, you can't control who you play. When you play bad teams, that's exactly what it should look like. You should put up 70 on their head. You should have a shutout. You should dominate in all 3 phases of the ball games. There are a lot of things to be optimistic about. So yes, did we play a bad opponent? Absolutely we did, but we crushed them. And it wasn't even close. So I don't want to hear people saying, oh, we only played Akron. Yeah, I mean, you could say that if we only won by 20 points, but we won by 70. So what's your excuse now? So again, there's a lot of things to be happy about. Does this change the fact, that we're probably still going to be a heavy dog going to Michigan? Probably not, right? That's still going to be a tough game despite Michigan losing yesterday. Does this change the fact that, we're unranked? No, we're still going to be unranked, probably going in Michigan. And that's how it should be. But it gives a lot of confidence to this team. It gives a lot of experience to our veterans, a lot of reps to these young guys. It gives more time to experiment from the coaching staff to hone their craft. And it just gives a morale boost to everybody, including the fan base. Like, we deserve something like this. We deserved a blowout win where we were just having fun and the team was having fun. And that's good sometimes, right? We forget that this is just a sport. We all take it very seriously, but it's about having fun at the end of the day. It's about enjoying your time as a fan. It's about the players enjoying their time on the field. That's what it's all about. That's why we're fans, to have fun. And yesterday was fun. Okay. And we need to treat it like that, because I tell you this all the time. We know as Nebraska fans that wins don't come easy. Okay. Whether it's in the Big Ten, non-conference, doesn't matter. Wins do not come easy. So you have to celebrate every single one. Okay. And I'm going to celebrate this one until the day is done. So again, we're not perfect. We have a lot to clean up going into next week. I'll tell you this. There are 4 things in particular that we need to do against Houston Christian. We should beat them by 1 million, but there are 4 things I have my eyes out for. Number 1, limit the penalties. Okay. At the very most, 2 or 3. At the very most. But ideally, I'm looking at 0 or 1. Okay. Number 2, we need 6 or more sacks. Fix the pass rush. Dial up the blitzes. Experiment next week. 3, we need to see a lot more running backs. Yes, our running backs look good versus Akron, but I need to see more. I'm not sold. Okay, I'm not sold. And partially the reason why our running backs look good is because our offensive line was down. So I need to see more reps from Quinn, Mekhi, Isaiah Mozee. I even want to see Kenneth Williams. And last but not least, I mean, you got to win by 80 next week. And you got to stay healthy. But overall, there's only so much we can learn. It was great that we won versus Akron. It's great that we're probably going to win next week, but there's only so much you can learn. Our real test, we already know what that is. It's going to be versus Michigan. Week 4, Michigan lost yesterday. So they're maybe not as good as what we're expecting. Bryce Hunter was struggling. They don't have Sherrell Moore for that game. A lot of variables. We'll talk about it, but at the same time, Nebraska, we have a lot to prove also. So, all right, guys, celebrate. Celebrate yesterday's victory. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hey, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go grad, go Matt Rule, and I'll see you in the next one.